chat. Hello. Hello, necessary. Earthquake chat. It was a 4.8 and the eclipse is on a 4.8. Also the city names it's passing through. Hello, Ivona. Oh, God. I'm just gonna... God. Sorry, I meant that to be orange. All right. So, it's kind of a weird day, weird chart. I hardly ever do a show on a Saturday. Let me just check in and say hello. Yeah, there we are. Greetings. This is TarotLumination. It's Saturday night over here in Las Vegas, and it's, let's see, over there for you, it's like already 9 p.m. for you guys over there. Hello, Ivona. Hello, Necessary. I just felt obliged to check in because of the kind of extreme situation going on with the planets right now. Let me just go back to the chart. So, you know, it's just another day in the astrology, just another day in our solar system. And I've done a sort of a lightweight version of the charts here. The reason I did it this way is because I just wanted to kind of illustrate the procession of planets that's going on right now. So this is the view from Earth, of course. From the sun, of course, it looks different. But from the Earth, what we're seeing is Mars and Saturn and the Moon and Neptune all piled up just here in Pisces. And then we've got Venus, the North Node, the Sun, and Chiron and Mercury all piled up here in Aries. You put that all together, okay, we got, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy squashed into one area. Mars, Saturn, Moon, Neptune, Venus, North Node, Sun, Chiron, Mercury, all lumped up in a tight procession over here. On the flanks, we've got Pluto in Aquarius, of course, right there. It's going to be hovering in this area for the next 20 years. And then we've got Jupiter and Uranus over here getting very close in Taurus. And that's an issue of pressure in its own. Of course, the global financial system is going to become even more tumultuous and highly unstable. And it's going to be amplified in its chaos. We already know that. I've been talking about that for a long time. But right now, I just wanted to make a few notes, because with this, of course, we're right at the very end of a lunar cycle, okay? Right in a few hours, well, what is it? 36 hours, the moon is going to be over here, all right? It's just a matter of 36 hours. The moon is going to be over here, and we're going to have that Aries new moon eclipse. And it's turned into this massive global drama, and I don't know what to say. It's another eclipse. We've done all sorts of videos about eclipses, and I have this opinion that they are what I would call evolutionary gateways. We've talked about it many times using my elevator analogy, where you enter the double-sided elevator from over here at your life, and then the eclipse kind of squashes you through an energy field and squashes you out the other side, out the other door, and there's no going back. So it's like an evolutionary gateway, and for a lot of people it's very, very uncomfortable. And if you're in the flow, then this would be very natural for you. Okay, that would be your evolutionary gateway journey, bumbling along through life, doopy 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 doop doop. Ooh, eclipse, whoop, onward and onward, onward and upward. And it's the same thing with the other eclipse as well. Full moon, new moon. I just look at it the same way in terms of evolution. One is beginnings, one is culminations, but either way, it's evolution. So that's happening. We're heading right into it right now. There's huge amounts of drama and gossip going all over the world about this eclipse, especially in America. It's kind of insane, frankly. And I don't know if we'll talk about it much. But anyway, one of the things I wanted to mention is that with all these planets over here, just think of the geometry, okay? Just think of the physics. Think of, how else can I describe it? Magnetism, geomagnetism. Think of it as gravity, okay? So imagine you're one of those circus performers and you've got all sorts of plates. You know how they have, I'll just see if I can do it like this for you. You're one of those circus performers in the old days, and you are a professional plate twirler, and you've got 10 sticks, and you've got them in your hands like this, and you're wiggling 10 sticks around, and on the top of each stick is a plate, and they're all twirling around, and you've got it all balanced, and you are outstanding because you defy gravity. But if it starts to lose control, then it becomes very, very hard to get the balance back, okay? And then let's say it all gets slightly out of balance and all of the 10 plates, well, no, let's say seven out of the 10 plates, because of, you know, gravity and everything, gets pushed and sucked over to one side. Then you have this very lopsided energy trying to stabilize everything. Excuse me, I've still got sinus issues, so I'm trying to deal with that. But anyway, so when you look at the geometry of what's happening in our solar system right now, it's a very similar phenomenon. You've got 7 of our heavenly bodies, the planets. We've got 5, 6, 7, yeah, all lumped over to one side of the solar system. Basically, you know, I'm not a professional astronomer, but if you could look at the chart, you could see that there's 7 planets all lopsided onto one side. And that does, whether we like it or know it or not, it does create a gravitational magnetic influence that is different from an example for where perhaps all the planets are spaced out evenly around our solar system in the way it would appear on our chart, where there would be a lot of balance. It would be very smooth. But with the 7 heavenly bodies all on one side, there's a very strong tug, a very, very strong pull into one direction. And it's happening. Again, it's invisible, whether we like it or know it or not. It's there. Now, we already know about the moon. The moon is famous because of its effect on the tides, moving water around the surface of the earth in a very, very highly predictable manner. And that's all due to geomagnetic influence, magnetism, gravity, and so on. But it's the same thing with the planets. So when you lump it all together, all on that one side, a pile of Pisces energy, a pile of Aries energy, it's going to pull. I don't know if you could actually measure it. I don't know of any physicists or astronomers who could actually measure the degree of pull, but it is there. Certainly on our astrological bodies, our physiological bodies, with all the liquid that we are, from which we are composed, we would feel it. And it has an impact on us. So, for example, let me go to the chart again. We'll stretch it out a little bit. So if you look at it, again, I'm going to try and keep things super simple. Again, I'm not a physicist. I'm not a professional astronomer. I don't have any hardcore qualifications in the astrology. I've had lots of training and I've done lots of self-education, but I'm not certified. But let's look at it this way. There's the Aries sector over here. So we've got Venus, North Node, Sun, Chiron, Mercury there as well, all piled up. So in terms of very elementary astrology, that's putting a lot of stress on, of course, the Aries energy itself. Let's say Aries type people. But it's also putting a lot of stress on the Libra types because of this fierce opposition here. There's a huge pull from here on the Libra energy. That's the Libra South Node, by the way, over there. So there may be a lot of people on Earth really questioning their relationships with anything outside of them, especially when it comes to large-scale institutions and entities that we have handed over our sovereignty and our power. And now we're realizing, wow, that's really, really dumb. I have seriously undermined myself by trusting in untrustworthy relationships. That's bad. We've talked about that a lot already. The other axis, of course, is over here. This is the Cancer-Capricorn axis. It's in a very hard square with the Aries axis here. So people who have a very strong Cancer-Capricorn axis or polarity or elements in their chart, they would feel a lot of stress as well, some way, somehow in their chart, wherever that would be. So I just wanted to add this, okay? I will use a color. I'll use yellow. Okay, so this is the stress marks for all the Aries vibes, okay? It goes over here and it goes over here. Okay, like that. So I'll just mark it over here. Sorry, let me just a little bit of mark. That's the Cancer vibes over there, and that's the Capricorn vibes over there. All right? So it's that, that, and that. Okay, so that's happening right now. Now, wherever that lies in your chart, I'm just pointing out people who have a strong Aries or Capricorn or Cancer or Libra element. Okay? It could be anywhere in your chart. So wherever it might be happening somewhere in your life, okay? Like that, on these different hot spots. The other thing going on, I'll use a different color. How about purple? Let's see how purple shows up. That's purple. It just looks like black. Forget it. How about blue? I'll use a light blue. I'll try to make it light blue. So with the Pisces axis, we're going to get a similar thing. Mars, Saturn, Moon, and Neptune. Now, of course, the Moon's going to be gone in a day or so. But for now, it's the same thing. We've got the polarity axis over here with the Virgo crowd. Okay, over here. Oh, I can't even read it, can you? Sorry. Virgo. So there's a huge pull in the opposite side of the Virgo crowd. So Virgo people might be feeling a tremendous pressure right now in relationships, and they might feel like there's a lot of roadblocks or something in their life, and hurdles, oppositions. So there's that going on. And also when you look at the square, so there's the polarity, okay? There's the polarity right there with the Pisces Virgo crowd. And also we're going to have the hard square, which would be on the Gemini Sagittarius axis over here. So in other words, with this big Pisces stellium, we've got stress marks, of course, on the Pisces itself, but also the Virgos, the Sagittarians, and the Geminis. So I'll just mark that. And the Sagittarians over here. So I'll try and do it with a different color, see if that lights up. So I'll try and do it. Is that like a light blue? Does that show up as a sort of a light blue? Yeah, I'll just do it like this. Okay? So the geomagnetic pull, all the weight is over here and over here. It's just one massive pile of planets. So it's putting a lot of stress not only on this side itself, but also here, 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 here. specifically, okay? Just wanted to put that out there. So in case you're feeling some kind of extreme or extended stress way outside your normal parameters, guess what? You can blame it on the planets. Yay! Yeah. Now, of course, depending on how you are evolved, you may be really enjoying this, but for a lot of people, it would be very stressful. Okay? Just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to do it as an illustration so that people can understand, like what I do. It's like I blame the planets. Love Triber showed me something the other day. It was some kind of, I don't know, social media platform thing, and the person was using that bumper sticker that I use. They said, and they were advertising their astrology classes, saying, hey everybody, come over here and study astrology with me, and then you can blame it on the planets. There you go. So I guess other people are starting to figure it out that you can blame things on the planets. Hello, Robin, I see you. I'm not doing any readings. I just wanted to hang out for a few minutes and give everybody reason to relax and stay calm and understand and recognize that everything is exactly as it should be. And how is that so, and why is that so? Because it can't be any other way. Things are the way they are. Everything is unfolding perfectly. Whether we like it or not, that's a different thing. Whether it's good or not, whether it's bad or not, that's a whole other thing. So I'm going to put this aside for a moment, and I'm going to go through some of my notes. You know how I like to do my rant in my notes. Let me go over here. I'm going to put this one aside. Oh, hold on. Let me just shove these away. Yep. Yep, just another day in the universe. All right, so the things I wanted to mention, first of all, the Pisces vibes. We've already talked about that, okay? So I guess I don't really want to go into the details of the essence of it all. I just wanted to point out that these are the pressure points. Okay? With the Pisces, of course, because there's so much pressure, it's very, very likely and much more likely that the unhealthy expressions will become dominant, because it's very, very hard to manage Pisces Neptune energy in the healthy expression, because it requires being very, very evolved in such a way that the concept of universal love is dominant, and the self-interest is minimalized to zero. And that's very hard for human beings, because we're programmed to be fighters and to survive. So these are two very, very different energies that are occurring simultaneously. So in the United States and all over the world, but especially in the United States, we're seeing tremendous amounts of betrayal, treachery, lies, deception, fraud. And it's being exposed, and it's being held accountable. Thank you, Saturn. So I already talked about that here. The pressure for the Pisces vibes, there's a lot of pressure on the Pisces crowd right now, but also on the Virgos because of the oppositions, also on the Gemini Sagittarius because of the squares. Okay, or the Aries vibes, we just talked about it on its own. And the stress factors there are closing very tight around Chiron and the North Node. Hello, Esther, I just saw you there. And of course, because of the opposition, pressure on the Libra crowd, pressure on the Cancer Capricorn crowd because of the squares. So there we go. Now, onward. A couple of things I like to watch what's going on. I scour things all over the place. Hello, Russian Thoughtbot. Here we go. So you might have noticed, or if you hadn't noticed, I'm just going to let you know that these farmers' revolutions, they're spreading all over Europe. It's not just Netherlands, Germany, France, and Italy. It's all over over Western Europe. All the farmers in Western Europe are saying enough is enough is enough. We are sick of the globalist agenda. We are sick of these bureaucrats in Brussels telling us that we have to kill all our cows, get rid of all our chickens, get rid of all our pigs, stop farming. We have to do registration of all birds in England. If you're in little old England, if you're over here in England, it's like getting a driving license. If you have a bird, a chicken, a pigeon, a swan, a duck, a flock of backyard chickens, or a whole yard of chickens, or you're a small farmer with chickens, every bird has to be registered. They have to have a tag, a license, and then there's a fee. And if you don't register it, there's 5 months in prison. No, what is it? £5,000 fine and six months in prison. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's insane. Obviously, it's insane. And there was a guy, this might sound like I'm a bit of a racist, but there's a guy up in Scotland. Okay, here's little old Scotland. Now, Scotland is a very traditional, very white kind of conservative Christian type of environment. It's been that way for a long time. And at the moment, they have a political leader who is from a completely different culture. And he reached the point of status where he has a lot of power and control. I don't know how he got it, but he does. And he's basically accusing the whole of Scotland and the whole of the Scotland leadership of being too white. There's too many white politicians, too many white bureaucrats, too many white policemen, too many white administrators, too many white municipal workers, too many local and state workers who are white. Okay, and he's saying that that's racist. And at the same time, it makes me think, well, maybe he's the racist. So I wanted to mention that. It's very absurd to me. So I'm very, very happy to see that. Europe is in a lot of trouble because they are almost completely now decomposed and turned into a communist country. One big, ugly communist country. It's very sad. Very, very, very sad. It's frightening. And they're only just now waking up, okay? So, the farmers who actually make the food for Europe and huge chunks of the rest of the world are pissed off, and they're saying enough is enough is enough. We're not going to abide by your absolutely ludicrous climate cult agenda stuff, your COP 2030, Agenda 2030, all the stuff that's promoted by the globalists to try and control the people. There's also a lot of protesting against the financial system, where they're trying to, in Europe, they're trying to impose the CBDCs, the central bank digital currencies, which is a form of financial imprisonment and control, which is the same system that they use in China. So it's a trap. It's a very dangerous, very deadly trap. The same trap is going to be ushered out in America, but they're having a lot of problems because there's a lot of people in America who are waking up and realizing that there's something very, very wrong happening in America, including the central bank and the Treasury and Washington. And so there's tremendous pressure and kickback to stop the CBDCs happening in America. The Federal Reserve Bank knows that, and so they're trying to do a workaround by issuing the CBDCs through the traditional retail banks like Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. Will they actually get away with it? I don't know. We are on a precipice of revolution right now. I'm very, very happy that the farmers are in a state of revolution all over Europe. That's fantastic as far as I'm concerned. It's not happening here in America. Over there in the Russia-Ukraine situation, of course, it's become very, very inflamed. And there's so much propaganda and misinformation coming out there about this particular battle, Russia, Ukraine. But if you look behind the scenes, a huge amount of it is to do with money laundering. I saw something very disturbing today. I'm just going to share this with you over here because I'm sorry I didn't keep it. I received a notice today from one of my news feeds, and it had a list of the top 20 American politicians right there in Washington now who have already benefited and will soon benefit from the soon-to-be approved budget to keep the government going. This is in the United States, okay? And there's a list of about 20 of the names. And of course the names are very obvious, like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. It goes on and on and on and on. And there's a few Republicans in there as well. And what it is, these are all the people who worked very, very hard to push for the Ukraine money to be approved inside the bill. And when, let's say, whatever it is, X billions of dollars is sent over to Ukraine, then each of those 10 or 20 politicians gets a kickback, okay, in the millions. Not the billions, but in the millions. Because the budget is allowing for billions to go over to Ukraine, and it's basically a money laundering racket so that the politicians get a kickback. And they do it at the expense of hundreds of thousands of dead people. There you go. Welcome to American politics. I found that very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing to see this list come out. Ugh! It got leaked. I don't know what is going on over there with the Russia-Ukraine thing. Ukraine is hopeless. They haven't got a chance. I don't know why anybody thinks Ukraine is going to win or something like that. It's stupid. NATO is in a state of chaos. They're completely chaotic right now. They've had 40 years of being dependent on America, so they got very lazy. They don't really have the military capacity to fight Russia if things got really ugly, okay? So I don't know what's going to happen. It's insanity. I think a lot of it is about dirty, ugly money for the military-industrial complex. And if a few 100,000 people die, so what? Next, I just wanted to move over to Africa. You might have noticed over here in Africa, there's the Sahel region over there. It's kind of fertile and very rich. And then over here, you've got the central regions, which are extremely rich in natural resources. Of course, all of this was colonized centuries ago by France and Germany and Belgium and the Dutch. But time has moved on, and African countries are sick of it, and they want their life back, and they're trying to get rid of all the colonial stuff from Europe so that the African countries can have their own country, their own currency, their own success, and operate in the Western world without being slaves of the colonists over here. So it's getting very, very turbulent in here. There's a lot of war and violence and treachery and very scary stuff going on over here. But again, I don't blame the African nations because they've lived under extreme pressure for so long. It's just not fair. Okay, over here, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, they're kind of in trouble because they have allowed themselves to be so compromised by the Belgian, the Brussels world order crowd, that I don't know how much chance these places have for survival. I mean, in Great Britain, it's turning into a communist country. Canada is turning into a communist country. Same thing with Australia. New Zealand is even starting to be infected. It's very, very frightening. And the Brussels crowd over here, they worship China. They worship the communist model over in China. And they don't seem to care or understand that China is imploding right now. It's completely collapsing because the Chinese economic model is dead. It's over. It's done. It's all based on crime, theft, murder, treachery, lies, betrayal, economic coercion, blackmail, debt, what do they call it? Debt trap diplomacy. It's all collapsing. The Belt and Road projects, they're all collapsing. There's 1 billion people in China that live off less than like $150 a month. Things are going to get very ugly over there. China, the CCP, and Mr. Ping, they're starting to issue 50-year treasury bonds to try and raise money. They're so freaking desperate. They're stealing money from the banks, from the people, from the banks, just to keep the CCP office buildings going. The Chinese military looks very big and scary, but it's actually quite shambolic and very brittle, fragile, because it's based on theft, and they've never had experience in wartime with this kind of equipment. They might be getting very, blustery and threatening, but if they actually start a war, they're going to get obliterated. Because there are tremendously powerful forces that are built up all over here and here and here and here that are more than happy to take down China. It's very, very weird. The Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, New Zealand crowd, they let themselves become compromised. They're starting to see what's happening, but it's too late. Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, I think it's already too late for them. They're really going to be struggling to try and reclaim their sovereignty. In contrast, even though the United States is heavily contaminated right now, we're completely saturated with a stage 4 metastatic cancerous type of communist regime. And it's getting very ugly, it's very powerful. But enough people inside America are waking up and realizing it. So it's like our immune system is becoming activated, and more people in America are waking up and realizing, holy crap, if we don't do something, we're going to end up like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, China, Argentina, Venezuela. We're totally screwed. That's what's happening. And so enough people inside America. See, the thing about America is that we're very wealthy and we're very privileged, and a lot of people don't want to wake up because waking up is very uncomfortable. It means you actually have to do something that stretches you outside of your comfort zone to try and oppose this communist disease that's trying to take over. But it's happening. It's going to be a 20-year journey of the American immune system fighting against America. The American immune system fighting against the enemies of America. The primary enemies of America are within, and they are operating right here and right here and here. It's very, very tragic. I mean, part of me, of course, is happy that China is imploding, but it's actually very tragic because it's nothing can stop it. Doesn't matter what you're seeing on mainstream news or Wall Street. China is imploding internally. China has 1.4 billion people, and out of that 1.2 billion people, are almost penniless, broke, desperate. And it's never coming back. China overexpanded too quickly and they got very, very cocky, and it's all backfiring. It's very, very tragic. I think there's going to be, over the next 20 years or so, there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering inside China. Over in India and Southeast Asia, SEA, things are getting stronger because all the Western money that was living over here is now moving over here, because the Western money has figured out the slave camps of China are no longer acceptable or workable. There's too much risk. It's too politically dangerous and risky. But there's billions of people over here who are very happy to work for slave labor wages. So that's where all the new energy is going. That's why India is going to start booming, and all these regions over here are going to start expanding. So they're happy about that. Next, back to the USA. I don't know what to tell you about the eclipse drama. People are talking about, oh my God, we're going to reactivate the New Madrid fault, and America is going to fall down into a big black hole. There's going to be demons flying out of the sky. It's the return of, it's revelations, it's the end of times. It's going to be the return of Noah's Ark or something like that. A bunch of different towns all along the path of the eclipse over here have declared an emergency. Well, I don't know. I haven't checked the weather, but if it's cloudy, they're not going to see the eclipse. So kind of doesn't matter. I'm not even going to check the weather. But anyway, you're going to see it and witness it on the news. The path of the eclipse is like this. Okay? It's the new moon in Aries. That's the important thing. It's the new moon in Aries eclipse. Now, here's one thing I will say. Because of all of this stuff over here, all of this stuff over here, with extreme extra gravitational magnetic pull over here, extra gravitational magnetic pull, it distorts the more balanced. Let's say if we had planets like this, okay, all arranged like that, it would be very smooth. But we've got intense pressure over here, so it's going to put a lot of pressure. Hold on, I'll do it like this. It'll put a lot of pressure. Those planets on one side, they're putting a lot of pressure to pull energy to one side. Not side that's going to be, but it is a consistent pull. Okay, and so it's very, very likely that we're going to see increased chance of earthquakes, volcanoes, and anything to do with the shifting of the tectonic plates. There's the big one in the mid-Atlantic over here and the South Atlantic over here. That's a huge one, but it's difficult to see because it's way under the ocean. There's also the Ring of Fire, which goes all the way over here, and here, and here, and down to here, and down to here. There could be all sorts of disruptions on the Ring of Fire. There could be random, weird, unpredictable ones, perhaps around Indonesia. There's some saying over here in Italy, there's going to be big ones. They're having weird ones perhaps in Turkey. We just don't know where it's going to pop up. But there's so much pressure that the tectonic plates are really, really like grinding on each other. Grinding very, very hard, more than normal, okay? Here's another way to look at it. I was watching one fellow the other night, and he likes to catch up on these things. And the way he described it is, imagine when you're a little kid and your teeth are growing in. You've already lost your little baby teeth, and your new teeth are growing in. And sometimes they get out of alignment, and it really starts to hurt, like when your molars are coming in, and your all these teeth, and the big ones coming on the front, and they're trying to organize themselves to get spaced. And if they are slightly out of alignment, and one is pushing over here, one is pushing over there, it can really hurt. It can be very, very painful, uncomfortable for the child when the teeth are growing in. So it's very similar with the tectonic plates grinding on each other. It's just like one is pushing to be here, the other one is pushing to be there, and they grind on each other. And if they reach a point where there's too much pressure, they fracture, and they either go like this, or they go like this, or like this, one over the other, or one on a subduction, which goes like that, or it goes like that, or sometimes they clash like this. Like this one, for example, when the tectonic plates do this, you get the Himalayas, you get the Alps, you get the Appalachian Mountain Trail, you get the Rocky Mountains, you get all the mountains down in Chile and Peru. When you have subductions like this, you get the earthquakes like along the west coast of California and Japan and Taiwan, where things are going like that. Anyway, just thought I'd mention it. Another thing that I watched a particular a physicist. There's a physicist I like to watch, and he was explaining that. So I covered that one. You know, did you hear the story about the Statue of Liberty and the big piece of lightning? Well, what he was trying to mention was because of the way electricity works in the atmosphere at that particular time. Now, please don't laugh at me. I can't prove any of this, but what he was trying to say was okay, let's say there's the Statue of Liberty, all right? Okay. Hello, Tina. I'm not doing any readings. I'm just having a rant. I'll show you the Ring of Fire again, okay, necessary? Don't worry. But pretend that's the Statue of Liberty, okay? Here's what happened. The lightning went from the ground to the sky. The lightning did not come from the sky to the statue, okay? So just be aware of that. It happens every now and again when there's huge voltage disparities between the ground and the sky, okay? If it's inverted, then the lightning will go this way. So he just wanted to point that out, and he said it's nothing unusual. It just happens every now and again. Airplanes are hit by lightning all the time. Skyscrapers, buildings, churches, they're always getting hit by lightning, and they have lightning rods to do that. Sometimes the lightning shoots upwards to the sky. It's all a way for the electricity to balance out and even out its brother. It's energy. So I just wanted to mention that one. The other one I wanted to mention is about the invasion of the illegals. I'm hoping that you're awake and observing, because it's getting very absurd, and this is one of the things that is starting to act as a catalyst for the wake-up call of America and Americans. There are so many Americans now whose lives are being impacted by the invasion of illegals and certain amounts of criminal behavior, and it's getting so bad that Americans are saying enough is enough is enough. We got to do something about it. The problem is that the people who want the invasion to happen, and who want the illegals to come all over America, they are all part of the globalist agenda to destroy America from the inside out. Because they know they can't just send over bombs and airplanes and crush it in the old-fashioned way. Okay, so before I move on, let me show you the Ring of Fire again. Okay, here's planet Earth. Okay, there's South America, there's Central America, there's North America, Canada, Alaska. Here's the Pacific Ocean. the mighty Pacific Ocean. There's the Hawaiian Islands, okay? And there's lots of little islands all over the Pacific. There's New Zealand, way, way, way down there, 8,000 miles away from LA. And it's a couple of thousand miles. It's 5 hours on an airplane, on a jet from New Zealand to Australia. That's how isolated New Zealand really is, okay? I've been there, I know. And over here is Southeast Asia. There's Eastern Asia, China, India, Russia, Eastern Europe, Africa, and Europe, and so on. The Ring of Fire goes from right down here on the Cape Horn, very, very, very cold, brutal weather, and there's a big crack in the Earth's surface all the way up here, all the way up through Chile, Argentina, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, all the way through Central America, all the way up through Baja, all the way up through California, up the west coast here, all the way up to Alaska, all the way down the Aleutian Islands. There's the Aleutian Islands right there, okay? Those are the Aleutians, okay? These are very volcanic, okay? Lots of volcanoes and earthquakes all along here. And then it trails over to here, loops around here, goes through around Japan. The Ring of Fire goes right here, around Taiwan, and then right through Indonesia and Southeast Asia, all over here, Papua New Guinea and all those places, all through the South Pacific Islands, and down toward the north tip of New Zealand. It kind of stops here, but there's an extension that goes down here, right down to the tip down here. You might remember the huge earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. Devastating. The whole city was devastated. Mind-boggling. I've seen it. So, yeah, that's the Ring of Fire. It goes all the way around the Pacific, basically. And on that Ring of Fire, that's where there's tremendous amount of activity on the tectonic plates, because this is a huge part of a tectonic plate. And this tectonic plate is moving in, like this is a tectonic plate right here, a big one. There's a big one here, a big one here. And what's basically happening is these two are coming together like this. Okay? So what tends to happen is, like for example in California, it's happening all the time. California sometimes goes like that, or sometimes goes like that. Either way, it's a tectonic plate pushing against itself. So right up here, I used to live right there. Right there, there's LA, and there's the Santa Monica Mountains. So the Santa Monica Mountains are a direct result of the tectonic plates doing this. And those are the mountains. There you go. So I just wanted to share that. Anyway, those are all things that are happening that's perfectly natural. It's pure nature just doing its thing. So if you happen to be in the way of a tectonic plate or something like that, and you're sitting right on top of an earthquake zone, yeah, things could get pretty bumpy. Like over here in the New Madrid Fault, that was the biggest ever in American history, right down there. Of course, big ones over here, big ones over here, big ones over here. But anyway, I just wanted to share that a little bit. You probably already heard about the earthquake over there in New Jersey, shockwaves over here. I remember long ago I was in Connecticut, right over here, and there was a massive 5.2 earthquake. People were shocked. Who ever heard of an earthquake in Connecticut? But yeah, it happens. So, getting back into a little bit of the awkward, gossipy politics stuff in America, this invasion of illegals, it's all planned. Of course, everybody's figured that out now. It's completely planned. The whole thing is to destabilize the United States so that the whole point is to destabilize the United States so much that it turns against itself. It turns into anarchy, and it gives the federal government an excuse to declare martial law so that they can basically set the military-industrial complex on top of its own country. In other words, it's like autoimmune disease. America is now officially killing itself with its own immune system. That's what's happening. And it's all by plan. It's all planned because this place here is the last remaining barrier to the global elites' attempt to have worldwide communism. And the reality is that there's a lot of people here who are starting to wake up and realize this is not cool. We don't want that to happen. We want to get back to the basics. We want to get back to this stuff again. We want our own sovereign selves. Hint, hint. Hint, hint. Okay? We want our sovereign selves back again. We're sick of trusting in relationships that are bogus. We want to be ourselves again. We want to have our country back. We want each state to have its own sovereignty, its own wealth, its own identity, and reconstitute itself so it has power. Each state has a lot of its own power again, and we can start to diminish the power of the federal government, which is operating like stage 4 metastatic cancer. Okay? So that's what's on the table right now. Drilling down into the details, this fellow Mike Johnson, you might have heard of him, he is the Republican Speaker of the House. And he came across originally as very conservative, pro-Constitution, pro-America. And at the very last second, he flipped. He compromised. He betrayed his own party, his own people, to the point where his own party is calling him out. Marjorie Taylor Greene is calling him out to the point where she believes he's actually being blackmailed and compromised by the Democrat Party in order to force the budget. It's obvious. It's obvious Johnson has been compromised. How do they do that? They do that with money, and they do that with threats. Basically, it's the CIA and the FBI. Basically, Mike Johnson was put under so much pressure that, Mike, you are going to force this bill through the Republican Party or else. And we're not going to fill in the blanks or else, but it basically means we're going to go full commie on you. We're going to go after your wife, your kids, your children, your grandchildren. We're going to make your life hell, misery. So sign the frickin' paper and get this deal done so we can all get our millions of dollars in kickback. Okay? So that's what's happening live right now in Washington. The second thing that's kind of a big deal, but it's very hush. I don't know why it's so hush, but the Mayorkas impeachment process is going through right now. Okay? This is very, very difficult for the Democrats because Mayorkas is absolutely proven to be an evil POS, piece of SHIT, who is pooping all over America, breaking every law in our Constitution to manifest this invasion of illegals. And so he is being held accountable. He has been proven and held accountable by the, what do they call it, the blah, blah, blah committee to impeach Mayorkas, and now it's gone into the Senate. Now, the Senate is Democrat-controlled, and that's the tricky part, because the laws are such that it's going to be very, very hard. Since this is all being done formally, it's going to be very, very hard for the Democrats to stop this impeachment from happening without some kind of bizarre shenanigans. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. But as part of the wake-up that's happening in America, more and more average Americans are starting to realize that Grandpa Joe is not running this country. He's literally just being handed a few scripts, and the country is actually operated by the global elites over here and over here. This is the list of the key players. United States Federal Reserve Banking System, Department of Defense, CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, CDC, Center for Disease Control, DOJ, the Department of Justice. These are all super, hyper corrupt entities of the federal government, and they operate like highly aggressive cancer cells that have infected the whole of America. And these folks are giving the script to Uncle Joe. And it's all being run outside of America, okay? And one of the reasons they're getting away with it is because of the money flow. Mike Johnson is basically going to authorize the flow of billions, like $1.7 trillion, okay? These people, they want that. And the average American like me, we're standing in the way. The average American like Mike Johnson is standing in the way. Mike is now compromised. He got blackmailed. So Mike is now part of the elites. It's very tragic. It's very frightening. But that's what's happening. Essentially, inside here, who's got the most power and the money, the most bullets and guns and everything to actually do the hardest, dirtiest work? It's the Department of Defense, CIA, okay? That is the military-industrial complex. The other big weaponized system is the healthcare industrial complex, which is, of course, the CDC. All right? Anyway, they're all working together, and their sworn mission is to destroy this. This must be destroyed according to their will, in order that they can be reconstituted to make it more like the CCP. I don't know why they want it to be like the CCP, because the CCP is a godless, empty, hollow entity that is imploding live in real time now in its own corruption and dirt and evil and betrayal. Anyway, so that's part of it. What I'm anticipating over the next, I guess, the rest of this year is that these people will become much more active and much more aggressive. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some kind of organized catastrophe happening inside America that's going to look like some kind of insane disaster. People like me in my world, they're saying things like, oh, it's going to be an EMP. Oh, it's going to be multiple scattered, power outages. Oh, the whole telecom system's going to go down. Oh, Russia's going to send a nuke and blow it up in the air and shut down all our power stations. Oh, no, it's going to be incremental. They're going to shut down and burn down all the food factories, the farms, all the cows, pigs, chickens, and turkeys, and we're going to starve the population. And then at the last minute in October this year, Uncle Joe is going to call that out and say, you know what? America is in such a dangerous place right now. There's so much violence. There's so much crime. The only thing we can do now is to initiate. We're going to initiate martial law. That's it. We're going to put the U.S. military inside the U.S. to kill its own people, basically. That's it. That's what I'm anticipating. And they're going to make it so bad. My feeling is that they're going to try and make it so bad that it's going to give the White House. Let's just call it the White House instead of Grandpa Joe or Uncle Joe. Let's just call it the White House. It'll give the White House, it'll stage everything to the point by October and November. By the way, I've already got charts for then. It's chaos. Okay? Please plan for the absolute worst. By the time we get to November, the whole Neptune stuff, all of this is going to be at a point of extreme intensity, and it's going to amplify everything to do with betrayal, lies, deception, theft, blackmail, corruption, crime, murder, death. Okay? Especially as Saturn gets very, very close to Neptune. Okay? It's happening, people, and it's at that time, around the 5th of November this year, where we're going to have a very, very critical time astrologically, and it just so happens to be our election. And so, of course, these people are terrified of what might happen at the election if there is someone called Donald who actually wins. They're not going to let him win. They're going to find a way to disrupt it, and it's going to trigger more chaos, more violence. I don't know what's going to happen in real time, but the way I'm feeling is prepare for the worst, okay? Please, I'm serious. Prepare for the worst. A Love Triber sent me a list today of all the... Okay, I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to wrap it up in a minute. You all have lives to live. I've been ranting for an hour now already. Sorry. Love Triber sent me a list today. It's actually an old list, but she found it again. It's a list of all the food processing and manufacturing operations that have been sabotaged and destroyed in America since 2020. And the list goes up towards the end of 2022. And there's about 104 operations. Now, these are going to be meat processing plants, poultry farms, beef industrial farms, chicken, turkeys, fish farming, all the fertilizer, all the weed killing operations, all the chemicals that are used, all the seeds, all of it. It's just nationwide sabotage of the whole food chain. Everything you can imagine to do with food. And that list is terrifying when you read it. And it's got a lot worse in the last 2 years. So that's why I'm kind of saying, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, keep praying. There's a lot of good people out there. There's some amazingly good, loving, caring people out there who are going to do whatever we can to try and basically salvage our beautiful country. But it's going to take work, and you have to be prepared. If you want, you can just ignore it all and just watch it all fall apart. Or you can do something about it. I don't know what to do personally except to prepare. I don't feel like I'm strong enough to go on any kind of political marches or set up a revolution or anything like that. I'm just not that person. My body is very flimsy, and I've lived most of my life already, and I'm just hoping for a peaceful time. I'm not expecting a peaceful time. I would like peace, but over the next 20 years, I guarantee it's going to be revolution, upheaval. It's going to get very, very lively as well in about a year and a half. I'm just giving you a heads up, because Pluto's going to be in Aquarius. Uranus and Jupiter are going to be over there in Gemini. And Neptune is going to be in Aries. And Saturn is going to be in Aries. So that's a tremendous amount of air and fire energy. It's a big contrast to all the earth and water. Okay? It's very, very different energy. Things are going to become very, very volatile. So brace yourselves. Ask a lot of questions. Don't be scared of the truth. Prepare. Don't live in fear. Just prepare yourself so that when something really bad does happen, you can take care of yourself and your loved ones as best you can. Let's put it that way. And then you figure out what to do from there. Thank you for listening. Hold on, what's that in the notes there? Yeah, I know, Esther. That New Jersey quake caused a lot of drama on the news as well. Pretty big deal. I saw some of the videos inside people's houses and the pets and the animals. I've been in some very big earthquakes. It's absolutely terrifying. Terrifying. Why is it necessary to tell? Why is it called a ring? Actually, I think you're right. It's not really a ring. A ring would be circular, but it certainly goes all around, almost like it's a ring. Let me go back over here. I'll show you on another chart. Okay. Actually, it's quite difficult to do it here because the Earth is cut in half exactly. Well, the ring of fire goes from here to here, here to here, but there's nothing connecting from here to here. So I'll show you. You pointed that out properly. Well done. See, the ring of fire loosely goes from here, Cape Horn, all the way up and around and around and around and around and around. Okay? So that's a huge, they call it a ring. If it was a ring, it would be a circle. But as far as I know, there's no direct link between this part of the tectonic plate and that part. Maybe there is something underneath the Antarctic, I don't know. But from the charts that I've seen, this and this is not connected. In other words, the south part of New Zealand is not connected to the south part of Argentina. Okay? So I just wanted to mention that. But I think they say ring because it sounds cool. Okay? Yes, I see your notes there. Our Congress made it legal to put bugs in food, and no label is required. Yep. It's so bizarre. Absolutely bizarre what's happening. Another fellow I like to watch, what's his name? Neil McCoy Ward. He was doing a video recently on some of the bizarre stuff happening in England. England has been completely infected by communists. And there's a big grocery chain similar to what we have over here. You know, we have things like Kroger and, Whole Foods and all of the big chains. And there's one over there, it's called Sainsbury's. And they're broadcasting through their own media into the stores about what food's going to look like in the future. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The people who are running these organizations are all infected with globalism. It's like a disease. Oh, dear. Climate cult issues. Oh dear. Food issues. Oh dear. What are we going to do? Oh, let's wrap it up like this. I got something really cool to show you. Give me a second. I got something for you. This is quick and it's easy. I might have mentioned this already. Okay, it's a channel. And the movie is called... what is it called? Blah. Okay, I just thought I'd mention this one. There's a YouTube channel. It's called There's a YouTube channel. It's called Food Lies. It's all about the lies to do with food. Food Lies YouTube channel, okay? On that channel, there's a movie that just came out, I don't know, a week or two ago. And the movie's called Climate, the movie. I urge you to watch that little movie. It's only like an hour and 10 minutes. It's a breath of fresh air, and it might give you some perspective that you didn't have before. I really enjoy it, and I concur completely with the makers of the movie. You'll understand later if you watch the movie. Let me give you just a little example of the bogus BS that goes on in the world of climate. When you look at climate charts, actually, I don't want to spoil it. I did that the other day. I'm not going to spoil it. Just go watch the movie. It's very entertaining. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope to see some of you maybe tomorrow night, Sunday. We'll probably do a couple of readings. I can usually handle 2 or 3, but that's about it. Some people book in advance. You know what to do. And so we'll see what happens, but if sometimes we can do it live, real time. We'll see what happens, okay? Thank you very much. I'm going to sign off now and leave you with a little tune. I'm going to, how about I just do one of my little TarotLumination songs, Want to Be Over Happy. Can I tell you what Sainsbury did? Oh, okay. Yeah. As far as I recall, Sainsbury's was trying to tell people, basically telling people that beef and meat and pork in general is going to become very, very expensive and only available to the elite. In the meantime, fake meat is going to be developed, and people are going to be, they're not going to have the option to get real meat unless you're very wealthy. Also, bugs food. It's just stupid stuff. Really, really stupid stuff. You could probably just Google it. You could probably just go to Sainsbury's and look at their latest manifesto. Sainsbury's.com, Sainsbury's.co.uk. And it has it all there. It's their agenda. Here's how food is going to look in the future for England. Okay? Yeah. They're insane. It's not. I don't think it's going to work. They're going to try. Here's an example. I can go to my Smith's store, which is kind of like a Kroger, which is kind of like a Ralph's, which is like a Aldi's, which is like all the other big, Vons, big grocery chains. I can go to Smith's and there's plenty of food. The store is full of beautiful, beautiful food. There's beef, there's pork, there's chicken, there's ham type things, there's turkey type things, there's all sorts of seafood. And it's all packaged and spread out in every way you can imagine that you would see in a supermarket. And what I've noticed recently is that there used to be a little tiny section that was devoted to things like Beyond Meat and fake meat burgers and all the famous brands of fake meat. Well, over the last year, they had that little section. It wasn't really any wider than my hands or my physical body. So for all 100 meters of meat and seafood, they had maybe half a meter set aside for Beyond Meat and fake beef and fake chicken. And every week I would go to the sale discount section for the meat to see if I could get a deal on some bacon or something, I don't know. And you would see all the fake burger, Beyond Meat packages dumped into the sale aisle with heavily discounted prices. Why? Because nobody wants it. They can't sell it. Doesn't matter what the price is, how they discount it, nobody buys it. Then nobody wants it, at least not around here. And so recently I just noticed the section isn't even there anymore. They don't even have a fake meat section anymore. So that's one way that the public can deal with the issue. You do it with your wallet. It doesn't matter how much these elites and these corporations and BlackRocks and Vanguards and State Streets and Blackstones want to force you and dump you and pump you full of ESG and DEI. If you don't buy it, they can't sell it. They can't sell it if you don't buy it. So vote with your wallet. I actually did buy some Beyond Beef burgers once. And it sort of tasted okay for a while. And then about 2 hours later, I had massive indigestion. And I'm not going to say what happened to my body, but it was pretty disgusting. And it went everywhere. Same thing. Actually, that's true. It's the same thing with the freaking electric cars. I'm sorry. You've probably heard about Hertz rental cars. You heard that story. It's already. That was probably about 2 weeks ago. Hertz Rental Cars has got rid of all its electric cars, especially the Teslas. I'm sorry, Elon, you're a great guy. I think you're a great guy. You're weird, but you're great. But they got rid of the Teslas because every time somebody rents a Tesla, there's an enormous problem. I actually was hanging out with someone who rented a Tesla. It was a nightmare. The car would switch off, on and off, without your control. And it turns out that the Hertz rental car company has a way to turn the car on and off from their office. I mean, how insane is that? And half the time, the people who rent these electric cars, they have to go get picked up by a tow truck because the car runs out of juice. Anyway, I don't know what else to tell you. It's a wonderful show. I love doing what we do here. I'm so glad you listen. I'm so glad we can keep doing this. And I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. I'm trying not to offend anybody. I'm not trying to start a revolution or anything. I'm not doing that. I just want to share what I discover. I don't like being shrouded. I told you earlier, I was born and raised with privilege, with freedom. I was the happiest little kid ever. I've had my fair of grief and misery, but I had the good stuff. I had the real good stuff. And once you've had a taste of that, there's no substitute. Freedom, liberty, equality. This is the good stuff. Anyway, take care, everybody. I'm gonna play. I'm just gonna bow out. Oh, hold on. What's that? Yep. Hold on. Yeah. Yeah, it's stupid. It's just stupid. 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 Please go watch that Climate, the movie thing. It's so obvious. I'm not gonna spoil it by telling anything more about it. Take care, everybody. I hope to see you tomorrow evening, and we'll do this again.